of what I've been able to build. It is a link between Unity and Revit. So Revit data gets sent over the network via WebSockets to Unity or to a Unity application, which can be run on a VR headset, for example. So here we see a little spatial window that you would be able to see inside of virtual reality, and it's currently just outputting that is connected. So that's fairly trivial. And on the left we see a little console I made. This is using WPF, which is the way that the Revit UI is created, which is Windows specific. It gets defined using SAML. So a lot of annoying things, but it shows whatever is inside of the console. We also, of course, have the debug console right here, but on runtime we also, like without running as debug, we still want to see what the server is doing, because it's for an experiment. Alright, so if we run the VR application, or in this case the Unity project, we can see that it starts, it connects to the main service at the specified URL. This is a IP address. This is a static IP address that I assigned using like a custom router or my own router. So I configured the DHCP server to statically allocate the the IP address to the server, and the server in this case is a Parallels instance, which is a virtual machine running on my MacBook, and it gets assigned its own IP address, because with the virtual machine it uses a network adapter and doesn't create its own subnet or its own virtual network. Alright, so if I click here, for example, what happens is it sends JSON, and this is polymorphic JSON, so it just sends which type it is. So if we look at, this is the wrong one. If we look at the type of events that are there, you can see that we just defined some empty events, but we have a document changed event, document opened event, closed event, and selection changed event, and these get invoked when the application has these events called, and this is registered like in Revit. So it's a lot of binding of data basically, or events. So if we click again, you can see that on selection changed gets fired again, and it gets fired again. And on the Unity side, we can see that it's actually showing that it received the JSON, so it received this, and then on the JSON side we simply switch like what type it is after we deserialize it from JSON into the runtime object in memory, and then we call the specific handle function that we need, and that's basically it. Also, we check whether it's actually valid JSON. That's all there is to it, and both of these projects are written in C#, so they can actually, and also they actually share the same common code to make it easier to do the data interchange. So the data can literally just be serialized here, deserialized here, and there's no loss of data. And there's also no reinterpretation of data or separate, like it's not going from C++ to C#, it's literally just C# objects going to C# objects. because the core of Revit is probably written in C++, but the API and a lot of the modules or plugins are written using C#, with only the core being in C++. Right, so that is basically it, what I've been able to implement right now. Uses WebSockets. If we go quickly to the we can to the directory, the repository structure, we can see Revit to VR plugin. This is just the plugin that is loaded into Revit. We can see that we need some scripts to install the add-in or the plugin to Revit, because it needs to be copied and it needs to specify like some where is it, .add-in, and this is a little XML file which literally just says which class to load from the DLL that we specify in this add-in. So if you look here, we can see that it has assembly name, so it actually references the path of the assembly, and it can be done in debug or release, and in release it copies the DLL inside of the folder as well, and in debug it still references the original DLL, and that makes sure that it doesn't need to be copied every time, and we can just call from here start, and then it starts Revit and it loads the DLL from the original location, and this is right here where it gets built. So here we can see Revit to VR plugin.dll. Right, then we have another issue, that is that Unity doesn't support creating dependencies on these, like for example a CS project, because the CS project of Unity gets regenerated every time, so we can't edit it ourselves. Because if we look at, for example, the kind of data that it contains, we see what it's compiled, but there's also, well, basically you can define references. Let's see whether, right, so here you can see that we have a reference, and this is something that you can do, should be able to do in Unity as well, but this stuff gets regenerated every time, so would be a bit annoying. But this is basically what needs to happen. Right, so if we look at, so we have scripts done, we have the Revit VR plugin done, and then we have the Unity Revit app. It's literally just a Unity project, and the only thing is that it depends on the DLLs, which are generated by this build. So on build we literally just copy the DLLs that's configured right here. If I'm not yeah, so here we can see that it outputs it to the common build folder inside of the Unity project, and there we have inside of assets, common build, and here it just puts the DLLs that are the output of this build, and then this gets referenced inside of this thing, probably. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so this is not right, but these DLLs do get referenced, and yeah, that's basically the whole idea. So we have the Revit plugin, the Unity app, and a common class library that is used to define the data interchange formats. And also WebSocket Sharp is used because it would be kind of annoying to implement all the protocols for WebSockets ourselves. So we just outsource that to WebSocket Sharp, which is a really nice library. Also I did some testing with serialization and the WebSockets. Alright, so that's all. Not that much to it. The actual data interchange hasn't happened yet, so that's actually where the meat of the project is. This is kind of like just a hello world. We can communicate and we can send different events. So that is what I've been able to do. Yes, and now back to work.